School Board, Dr. Hernandez, District Staff, and Community. The time is now 5 p.m. on June 3rd, 2025, and I call this board workshop meeting of the Edgewood Independent School District School Board to order. First call to order, Ms. Martha Castilla will be joining us, Mr. Frank Espinosa. Present. Mr. Luis Gomez will be joining us, Mr. Rudy Lopez.
Present.
Mr. Michael Valdez. Present. Mr. Delgado will be joining us, and I am Dr. James Hernandez. I am present. Let the record show that a quorum of the Edgewood Independent School District School Board is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. and Texas flag. Thank you. Superintendent Dr. Hernandez, are there any public comments?
No, sir. There are no public comments tonight.
Okay, thanks, sir. Dr. H, your report.
All right, so welcome everybody to our June monthly workshop. My comments are going to be very brief tonight. I know our board president mentioned to you we have a couple of board members that are out. I do have their permission to share with you. They are under the weather, that's why they're not here this evening. So we want to keep them in our thoughts because they haven't been feeling very well, so that's why they're not here. But tonight is we were starting our meeting. I actually just kind of keep an eye on some of the items that I have up here with regards to our students. I know mostly everybody in this room was at our graduation last night from Memorial High School and as well as our graduation from the Fine Arts Academy. And so we have a lot of great things going on this week. Tomorrow night we will be celebrating our students at John F. Kennedy High School. They're going to be graduating tomorrow night, so I want to bring that to your attention. This is where our scholarship amounts stand as of yesterday. And so we may change this number a little bit depending on if things come on in after the day the kids graduate. But this is where all campuses start. I know I did hear Mr. Elizondo last time quote that the number of Memorial has already surpassed the numbers they've had in previous years. So we're very proud of the students' accomplishments and of course the hard work that he and his team are doing on campus. This was something that we just recently received. This is one of our other students. She's not a senior, but she is one of our students that just recently received a scholarship from TALED, that's the Texas Association of Bilingual Ed. Ms. Sosa is going to be attending Texas A&M University here in San Antonio. And so we do want to highlight the fact that she did receive that award. If you receive, probably do more with her this fall. She'll still be here in the district and we'll highlight her accomplishment. And as well as want to highlight the recent IDRA event that was put on where a lot of our students participated with regards to the vision program that we have in the district. And so we do want to thank our IDRA support and of course CTE and everybody else who had anything to do with our students getting there. If you weren't available, we did also have a recent Memorial Day event. I do want to thank our trustees that were there. Dr. Hernandez, Mr. Valdez, and Mr. Gomez were there. And so of course a multitude of folks, as well as Ms. Salinas, who was our master of ceremonies that day. So I want to thank them for coming. And of course the Gonzalez who actually put together the event. It's always been a great event the 7 years that I've been here. And of course, faculty and staff that have also supported that event, as well as a lot of alumni that were there with us. In fact, we see a whole director with me. And so I do want to highlight that. And then of course, Mr. Weaver is not here, but I do want to thank him for the work they're doing with our esports kids. This is their new attire that they recently purchased for when they go out to competition. This is fresh off the press. We just got this yesterday, I think. And so I did want to highlight the kids. We'll probably bring them in the fall because obviously kids are now on break, but I did want to highlight that. Tonight, just some other things. Mr. Garnica is the contact for this event. Mr. Garnica, any announcement, please? So our college readiness summer programming is available. Also, we have that board workshop presentation will be in the information that gets submitted as posted online. That's gonna bring my presentation to a close. You'll find the same items, except for this one. I scrolled. So we just found out that our finance department has once again received the Government Finance Officers Association Certificate of Achievement. You can read the rest of it. It's how do you pronounce it? What's the acronym?
GFOA.
The GFOA award. So this is now at least the second. So this award is given for transparency in financial reporting. This is not something that's awarded by the state of Texas, TEA, or anything like that. They actually oversee the United States, Canada, and Mexico. I think if I saw it a few years ago. And so it's a really big deal when they're able to achieve this. And so obviously Ms. Martinez is the person that represents the group. There are a lot of hands that went into this. And so I do want to thank the board, our finance groups for the work that they're doing. It does take a lot of tedious work in achieving this award. So for the rest of you, again, this presentation will be there for you to review. It's the same information that I give out. I do want to highlight the last board update in June will be on the 19th. That will be in a couple of weeks. We do not have a board report the last week. That will be when the staff breaks for summer break. So summer break begins on the 26th. There will not be a board report, and then staff returns on July the 9th. On the 9th. So for everybody here, and of course it will be in the minutes, the district will shut down for approximately about 2 weeks of board. You will get a board update this week, and then you'll get one on the 19th, and then we'll see you on the other side of July. So I want to make sure that I share that with you. Of course, these are all the items you're going tonight. Tonight we're going to start with Ms. Martinez. She'll start immediately after I go. We have a safety update from our Chief of Police, Chief Quiroga. Mr. Garnica is going to be presenting alongside some guests that we have this evening. And then we'll be closing up with Mr. Chavez on his leadership presentation tonight. And that will bring our meeting to a close. As you can see, dates here for the next month. I do want to highlight that we do have a lot of information to go over in a very limited amount of time. As you know, the other three board members are not going to be here, so full transparency, we will have to stop at a particular time. That one of our board members is going to need to move on. So at that point, the meeting will have to stop in accordance with the open meeting. And so I will turn it over to you. Yes, yes, sir.
So what time is the meeting gonna stop?
Approximately about 6:30.
6:30? What happens if we don't get through all the items?
We'll have, so the meeting will stop. Anything that isn't finished, we'll add in probably the board performance plan of the building. I anticipate that we should be able to do the most of it.
But there's no way to, like, if we didn't discuss it, to talk about it during the board meeting?
No, because just for clarity, Mr. Chavez has no items that are going up for board approval. So anything that Mr. Chavez is bringing up tonight, unless I'm mistaken, is only informational items. There's nothing that's going up for a vote. The actual items that are going up for a vote are the items that Ms. Martinez is going to present. Everything else is purely information. Yeah. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
All right. Good evening, Board President, Dr. Hernandez, Board, colleagues, and guests. So tonight I want to have a conversation around our budget. So we have a lofty agenda, but most of the items are yearly recurring, and as per cadence, what we want to address tonight specifically is item 5B. We're going to review the draft 25-26 district budget and a proposed tax rate. We're also going to review a resolution that's being recommended to authorize our current attorney, JCA Law, and contract with, Guerra LLP to enter in a contingency fee agreement. And we're going to review that in detail here shortly. The other item that is not recurring that we will be addressing tonight is the Bear Appraisal District waiver request for penalty and interest for Ms. Rosalinda Garcia. We'll review that here in a minute shortly as well. So when we talk about the budget, one of the most important things that the board has responsibility for is to approve the budget, set the tax rate, work with the superintendent, and set policy. Tonight is all about the budget and setting the tax rate. That catapults the July 1st start date for our academic and fiscal year. So when we start the conversations, we have been working around the critical needs that were established since 2023. Student retention, employee retention, teacher and principal pipelines, wellness, employee health clinics, and infrastructure, including technology and buildings. Those needs haven't changed very much over the last couple of years. Our priorities continue to be to attack inflation, to monitor the employee retention, and again, the pipelines, the wellness collaboratives, the health clinic. We have a lot of needs around building maintenance and the technology replacement plans that we're gonna move forward with next year. During board performance planning meetings on May the 15th, we talked to the board about the estimated budget. If I had to adopt that date 2 weeks ago, I would have told you we needed about $95 million to start the year. As you can see, we weren't that far off. We're about $95.4 million that we're going to ask the board to approve moving into 25-26. I want to really emphasize that we have absorbed the positions that were formerly funded by ESSER. We've presented to the board several cuts and several mechanisms that we used so that we could address some of the funding gaps that we have. We have included the teacher step increase. We're committed to that. And what is not included here, though, that is really important to point out is that HB2 legislation that was just signed this week. So we need a little bit of time to crunch those numbers and come back. There is a teacher raise that was approved, so we need to make sure that we discuss that, and we will here shortly, and what kind of impact that might have on the district budget. So this is very preliminary. I want to again emphasize that we're going to ask the board to adopt this budget, knowing full well that in July or August, we're going to have to come back with the pay scales that we're going to have to address to meet the mandates, and the tax rate will come back in September as opposed to August, because there's also legislation that is requiring a higher homestead exemption that will impact the taxes we collect. So the $84 million that you see right now in revenue will very likely change. It should increase, but so will our expenses. Okay, so the budget, the way you see it right now, is going to look completely different in a couple of months. I can't emphasize that enough. Okay, the other budgets that are required to be approved by the board is child nutrition. As you can see, we will adopt a deficit budget in child nutrition. If you recall for this is by design. We were trying to bring down the fund balance, so there's still some items that will be purchased next year to help the cafeterias. That's usually in the way of equipment for the cafeteria specifically. We cannot use those funds for anything else. So that will be a deficit budget by design. The other item that we will bring is the interest and sinking fund, that is our debt service. This, also by design, is a balanced budget because we cannot use these funds for anything other than to pay off debt. So this is not likely to have very many changes. If it does, you will see a swap in revenue between the local and or state funding. But the payment that we have is $4.6 million or so that we have next year for debt. This next item is a teacher incentive allotment budget. Mr. Chavez and his team have worked really hard to increase this. This amount has just about doubled. This is not something that's required to come to the board, but there's been so much emphasis and we're really proud of this program. So we bring this as an informational item, and you will see it for adoption when we bring this back on June the 12th. We are up to $918,000 here in this program. I want to bring this back to center. The budget, I already see a typo. This should be 25-26, folks. I apologize. The 25-26 adopted budget, as you can see, the priority one increased by $1.6 million. And why did it increase, right? If we're cutting, we absorbed ESSER positions that were normally funded through that source. We made sure that we brought them into local. So a lot of the programs like counseling and other services that we had already committed to are being brought into local funds. So that saw an increase of about $1.6 million. Students, families, and community, we decreased that budget by $886,000. The priority 3 has also seen operations of about $685,000. We're increasing the organizational improvement by $400,000 and the financial stewardship about $65,000. So as required, these are the notices that were posted in the paper. It is stating the date and time. We are required to have a public hearing that would be held at 5:30 on June the 12th per TEA requirements. What you will notice, Board, is that our tax rate is slightly lower. Not by a lot, but our maintenance and operations tax rate is slightly lower. If you recall, we are required to send this to TEA, and they do what they call compression. So every year, as our taxes increase, the Texas Education Agency calculates our rates and they decrease it. This is the other reason, this and the new tax exemption is why we will bring this back by September. So our property values have increased, but despite the increase, we know that this new legislation is bringing in different monies. But before this, our increased property taxes really didn't bring us much revenue. Every time we increase our revenues at the local level, the state portion decreases, as you can see in this slide. So the market value of the residences, the only thing that I want to point out here is that with the market, and this could be a good thing, but the property values, the average market value of a residence here in Edgewood ISD has decreased from 148,000 to 144,000. That's something we haven't seen. We have been seeing increases of 3 to 8% over the last few years. So that way the homestead exemption should help our taxpayers a little bit in the community. Okay, so the big reason we're at a pause with our budget for a lot of different reasons is this right here, HB2, and that's House Bill 2, school funding bill. There's a lot of rhetoric here, Board. Next week at the board performance planning meeting, we had already started these conversations at the last performance planning meeting. This next week, we're gonna dig deep. These are very basic numbers right now. The increase in the safety allotment, we are getting money for teacher raises, but I want you to notice that we still need to match benefits. So some of the language that we get says you're gonna give a raise of $5,000, but you have to figure out how to pay the benefits. Well, that's about a 20% cost to the district. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that we need to consider before bringing a final budget to the board. So there are good things in House Bill, but we still need to digest and dissect some of the information. And more importantly, TA needs to define how we're gonna roll this out. So there's still, the fine print is still pending.
I'm gonna give you the example of teachers. I'll be more specific. Teacher, what it used to mean versus what.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Hernandez. So that is something that's really important. In prior years, and the way districts have operated ever since I've been in the business, because I started when I was 10, teachers were always defined or included teachers, counselors, librarians, and nurses. So when we said we were giving a teacher raise, it was always insinuated that it was that group of staff, right? This new legislation, unlike any other year, very specifically tells us a teacher is someone who's in the classroom in front of students X amount of time during the day. So the amount of money that's coming includes only teachers that have more than 3 years of experience and are in a classroom. Not certified, it's anyone who's in the classroom, and it does not include librarians, counselors, nurses.
If that's teachers, so just for the group, just establishing understanding. That means these are teachers of record, which we still are waiting on the definition of teacher of record. Because we have one, there's 1100 school districts across the state. So that's the first thing. The second thing, Mr. Martinez mentioned in prior years, teachers were included things like counselors, nurses, librarians. But that is because that is and I'm looking at Mr. Trevino now, that is because that's a Chapter 21 contract, correct? Right? So it is directly correlated to our contract types. In those contract types, those were the categories that were included. The reality with this hospital too is it is nowhere, it does not appear in the language right now. So if I had to go on that today, that means the state is only going to cover, as Ms. Martinez mentioned, teachers of record. It does not cover 0 to 2 year teachers. So does that mean we don't have 0 to 2 year teachers? I know we do. So these are things that we're waiting on definitions, because I don't know that that will get communicated out, but we are going to communicate that as best we can. The governor is supposed to be signing this into law tomorrow, my understanding, out in Salado, Texas. Is tomorrow they're gonna have a big event, we'll be
The other thing that I want to point out, is we did get a little bit of money, about $279,000 is what we're estimating we're going to get for non-administrative staff raises. This is also very specifically defined. It clearly states that it does not include administrators at the campus or central office. And $279,000, folks, for all of our auxiliary and paraprofessionals is not going to go a very long way. So there are a lot of things that we need to iron out and figure out what this is going to look like as far as percentages, et cetera. And the other most important thing here, we did see basic allotment increase. However, we're going to lose tier 2 funding in order for the state to fund this. What that basically means is we're moving it from one bucket to another. And that's really important to note because I don't expect that we're going to get very much money from there. It looks really great on paper, but it is not really going to yield us any additional funding so that we can do what we need to do to operate. And it is $55, correct? It's $55 per ADA. Here we go again with the ADA. So there's a lot of things to sift through. Some of them are positive gains, but a lot of these are very incomplete pictures of what's getting posted out there. So we'll bring this back with a lot more detail. Hopefully by next week, we'll get a little bit more information for board performance planning, but most definitely by July or August, we will bring this back as a full package. The next item, 5.0, is discussion to ask the board to adopt a resolution to execute a contingency agreement between law firms of JCA Law and Guerra LLP. So what this is about, there's a national lawsuit. The whole purpose is to recover damages caused to the district by way of additional resources required to address students' social media usage. You think about all the regs that we have to put in, all the cautions, the firewalls, related student addiction, student behavior, and or mental health issues. Folks, this is at a national level. We know we're struggling with attendance, we're struggling with behavior issues after COVID. Somewhere along the line, there's been a case, and we're asking to join in. Other districts in San Antonio have already started to sign up. There's a no fee, this is a no fee agreement. That means we will be zero out of pocket if this is not successful. I have a little breakdown there, the gross recovery if it were $100,000. And folks, I can't say this enough, this is my number just for an example. $100,000, the attorney's fees would be 35%, and expenses such as maybe filing fees and some of those things would come out of that settlement. So we would net about a 62% of any settlement fee, roughly. So this is something that we're asking the board to consider. We will discuss it again at the board meeting, but this is something that we are recommending that we consider agreeing to. The last item that I have is a discussion of waiver request. So this is very simplistically, folks. Someone had their taxes, somebody needs a reimbursement for taxes because we are a tax-paying entity. This is within the district, so the tax assessor is required to get the board's permission. So they're asking that we put this on the agenda and inform the board that they will be reimbursing this individual, obviously after the board's approval, but there was a mistake in the calculations and they're asking to reimburse the individual. Dr. Hernandez, that concludes my presentation. All the rest of the items are recurring. So if there are any questions.
Let me start. Let me also add as we begin to take questions. Board, first and foremost, I want to thank the four of you here, including our 30 trustees that are not here. You have engaged in the discussion around the preparation for this budget process since back in January and February. That is not something that is not normal for us. We've always started the budget process as early as January. Obviously, it is easier on years where there isn't a legislative session because you know at the legislative sessions they appropriate money in bienniums. They're every 2 years. So in between years, we know what we're working with. We can pretty expeditiously move that along. During years where we are in a legislative session, as you've seen over the previous years, we are getting information little by little. In fact, the last legislative session there were 4 special sessions. So we really had to extend that understanding and really bring a budget to the board that would be honorable for all the time you spend in board meetings, board performance planning meetings, which is above and beyond the expectation of any board in the state of Texas. Remember, your only requirement legally is to come to the regular board meeting a month. Even these meetings are not required. And so I do want to thank you for that totally. I want that to be said. And then at this time, we'll open it up for questions.
My first question, I know you said that, like the budget amendment one is a recurring item. Do we know what's really gonna be, amended this time for the final budget amendment?
It is a finance office initiated budget amendment. So what that's for, Mr. Valdez, we're anticipating closing the end of the year, right? So June is the last time we can bring an amendment to the board. We have what we call accruals, because if we pay something in July, it needs to come back. So most of this is for payroll and to cover things like summer school, et cetera. So that's why we're moving some of those monies around. It's not for one specific line item, it's to finish out the year and the adjustments that we know we're gonna have to make for accounting at the end of the year. And in the amendment, I believe the biggest thing we did was move out of function 51 from all the vacancies to move them out into instruction in other areas.
Can you go back to the nutrition deficit?
Of course.
You said it's a deficit by design. What exactly do you mean?
Good question.
What,
So last year-
what was the question? I can't hear you read.
I said, she said it was a deficit by design. I'm curious what exactly.
That's a really good question. So child nutrition is only, or can only carry, and now 3 months, it used to be 2.5 months. We can only carry 3 months of operating expenses. The USDA doesn't allow you to hoard up monies because those are federal funds that we get. So last year and the year before, we were exceeding the fund balance. So you get penalized for doing well and being judicious with your funds. So what we do is create a plan, and Ms. Reese has been excellent at doing that. She creates a plan to say we need a band, so she tries to figure out what it is that we need as opposed to just spending the money during the year. And we're allowed to do that, so she puts together a plan and we execute during the year. So this plan, that's what I mean, it's by design, it's planned for, and she's got very specific items that she will be buying for the kitchen, equipment, things like that.
I also have a question on the child nutrition.
Yes, sir.
My first question, for the child nutrition, cause this is a specific fund bucket, so like let's talk about raises, like in terms of raises, like if the child nutrition workers were to receive a raise, it would be coming out of these funds?
That's absolutely true, sir. Yes.
My second question, but this is also some information that I would like to see, because we always talk about amending the budget, buy furniture, buy material, but I was just wondering, like do we have like polls of the students, like how many students are actually getting the lunch, getting the breakfast, like what is the percentage, can other choices be offered for the students and families if we're always having this excess money funds? It's like, is there any like data like that we can see as a board, like how many students across the district, because we're all free to reduce lunch, but how many students are actually like taking advantage of that and actually like
And we do,
enjoying-
we have counts. As a matter of fact, we can't draw down funds unless we submit counts. So we absolutely have that data. We have participation data.
I would like to see that.
Okay.
On my, well, that's for that question. My other question is, because you're talking about the $55 and the increase for the, so for the 1882s, because that's more money than the basic allotment that the 1882 partners get. Is that also an additional $55 on top of that allotment?
No. So yes, I'm sorry. The 1882 funds aren't part of the 6,160. Those are above and beyond. So these $55 won't impact that amount haven't seen that yet. I need to run numbers because that also, the 1882 monies in the last few years, the formulas have also changed. We started off with $1,200, we're down to an average of about $900, $930. So I haven't seen the impact yet, Mr. Valdez. It's not supposed to, but they are tied.
So it's like the 6,000 plus the $55,
Correct.
and then for the 1882s, it's
Above.
okay.
That's correct.
My other question, can we go to like where we're talking about the average home values or something?
Right there. Yes, sir.
So what would kind of cause the average market value to go down, like for our district?
We have aging homes. But more importantly, and we tend to attribute that to the way the house looks, but really it's the market. Like San Antonio as a whole, the market is really, really slow right now. So these are tied to the market values. And right now the houses are sitting on the market for a very long time. And so there's a couple of things that are contributing to that. Mainly it's the market, just the way it's not moving currently with high interest rates. We have high interest rates, so borrowers can't finance a home, and if they can, it's at a really, really high rate. So they can afford less house than they could a few years ago.
And is that different than the way, because I know like they appraise the homes every year, and that after they appraise, sometimes it can be like a tax increase for the people.
Correct.
Would that be separate than the market value, like the appraising?
They usually are separate. They're supposed to be close in line. They're usually within 5 to 10%, because the market, obviously the real estate happens quicker, and Bexar County only goes out once a year. But they are supposed to be within 5 to 10% valuation. So the amount of taxes a taxpayer pays isn't based on how much I can sell my home for. It's whatever Bexar County tells us the house is worth. Does that make sense?
Yes. And also speaking about like home appraisals and home values, like how can the board find out, or like how does the district find out if the school district were to do a bond, how much that would increase like the average taxpayer in the district?
We'd have to run numbers. We have to run numbers of how much, like we talked about tax compression. All of those are factors of how much money we can raise, right? So our penny 4 or 5 years ago, Dr. Hernandez, was raising about $179,000. So for every penny we increased for our taxpayers on the debt side, that's all we could raise. So you might imagine how much we have to increase. And we have room, but it's a study because it depends on what our values are at the time when we're going to issue the bond. So we have to do just a little bit of legwork on how much it works, but it's calculations.
And then, because I believe a few years ago, like we refinanced our bonds. Is there a way to like see it again, like how it's doing, like how long it'll take for those bonds to be paid off? Because like the bonds is in only that one section of the budget we can't even change, right?
Right. So it's in our financial statement every year. So they're on our website. They're public. I'll gladly send them out. They're in the schedules in the notes. It tells you exactly. We put that in there. We have payments through at least another 10 years, and it tells you exactly what date we liquidate as well. So we still have 20 plus years to go because we just refinanced.
And then you said like for us to figure out how much money it would raise like a taxpayer, like a bond. You said we would run the numbers. Is that something we do internally, or would that bring in other?
We can do that internally, but the best practice is to get financial advisors. That is the absolute best practice. We can run scenarios all day long, but the experts would be best.
I'll add to that. That is something that the board, I think I've mentioned in a couple of performance planning meetings, and at Team of 8 that we're going to be looking at over the course of next year. So that is going to include training you guys in terms of showing you where the numbers are, also bringing in outside counsel to work with us on how you prepare to bring it to the board so we can put it on an agenda. And then as well, and this is another reason why we want to wait, is where did that land in legislation? That you recall that was in the legislative session this year. And so once the details come out about bonds and what the requirements are gonna be for that, and then what's the follow-up? Like, for example, I think I quoted to you guys, one of the proposals I saw said if you bring a bond to your community, it has to have a supermajority, that means it's 60% of the majority, and if it fails, the proposal I saw said you would have to wait 5 years after that. So we want to be very methodical about, one, how we do this, because we want to make sure that we have a preparation so that we can communicate it to the community, because remember, we can communicate, we cannot ask the community to vote in a specific way. All we can do is say, here's the merits of why we need it, here's the committee that worked on establishing the building needs of the district, and then at that point, every voter will have to make their own decision in terms of if they would or would not support it. That's not something that the board can ask someone to vote specifically on, or the superintendent, or anybody in the district, so just to put that out there. But it is on the table for us to start those conversations in the next school year.
The last thing I'll mention about that, I want you to notice that at local, we're carrying about $3.4 million of that debt versus 1.2 from the state. That is extremely important because we've not been able to decrease our tax rate in the last 3 or 4 years in any way, shape, or form significantly. The bonds that when we first went out for bond issuances, the state was covering something like 75%. Every year, as we collect more money locally, these formulas are the same way that we have in the general operating fund. So every year, despite our property values being higher, you would think we'd be able to give our taxpayers a break. We're still at the 21.5 cents because the formulas are just designed backwards so that we can't get out of that. We can max out at 50 cents, but we've refunded, we've done everything right, and we still collect 21 cents from our taxpayers to pay off this debt. And now you notice that we're like at 75% that the district covers versus the state. That's a complete flip from where we were when I started here 10 years ago.
That's important to know, guys, because that was intentional in past legislative sessions, where the states contributed little to nothing. I think that fund is gone.
Pretty much. They have not approved any facilities funding for school districts in the last 10 years. 10 years, they haven't approved new building funds. So any bond, anything, just to be clear, would have to be carried by the district because there's nothing in legislation right now that's approved for ISDs.
I have one last question. As far as the lawsuit goes, do we know how far along that lawsuit is? And what is the monetary amount that they're asking for?
It started in 2023. I do not know the monetary amount because there's still a lot of litigation. So depending on there'll be facts that will need to be submitted, like incidents, behaviors, any patterns that happen, and they're all individual to districts, right? So even though it's part of a national lawsuit, it's very contingent or dependent on incidents in the district and how we were impacted. So.
When you say how we were impacted, do we have records showing how we were impacted? Is that what they're going to be asking for?
The conversation with the attorneys earlier, and it was a very brief conversation, was there will be requests for how did our behavior patterns change after COVID or with social media? What kind of guardrails do we have to put in place? Hacking, the firewalls that we have to invest in. All those things could be factors because we do have a lot of intentionality around student safety and our acceptable use policies. So anything that's in the AUP that would have changed from a specific point in time to today may be subject to interpretation. And they'll be asking for the data. We won't interpret it. We'll just submit the data to the attorneys for them to do the work for us.
All right, thank you. That's my last question.
So any other questions?
Yes. My second question, can you go to the slide where it's the adopted budget with the different funds with the addition and subtraction? Yes. So for operational excellence, it's decreasing 685,000. Do you know what's really being taken away from the 685,000?
I can share that. It's a plethora of things because we restructured programs. We had to also a lot of the ESSER funding we had included last year, and some of those programs we're not going to be able to support. So last year, and I can put it side by side and send it out, Last year, we removed this and we brought this with portion of ESSER funding and local funding. So some of the programs that we're not gonna continue that were ESSER funded are what's decreasing that amount.
Because when I think about operational excellence, I think of like the buildings and facilities. Is that in that bucket?
Yes, sir.
'Cause,
Absolutely.
Because we still have a lot of needs in our district.
We do.
Everything's really aging. We have multiple schools without security vestibules.
We do.
So
That's absolutely correct.
we always have those.
We do, that's absolutely true. And that difference from when we started here, that 95.0 that we thought we were gonna invest in, notice it's 95.4. That's because we added very intentionally that line item in function 81, which is part of taking care of our buildings, because we know we can't do without. There's some things that we just have to address. So we're starting with that amount, and when we go through the few months, we sweep funds where we can to get other projects done.
And
All right, go, last one. Go ahead.
my next question is about the Juan Cruz.
Mhm.
If we can go to that slide, please. So you were saying that or this is just a question. It was brought to us by the attorney, or how did this conversation even initiate, and when did it initiate?
There's been several conversations, I believe, through different superintendents, because I want to say we're like the 5th district now in San Antonio. So it's through different conversations and then conversation with our attorneys.
Okay. Do you know what districts in San Antonio have signed on to this lawsuit?
Yes, sir. I can answer that. Harlandale so far is the one that I know about.
Northeast,
Sorry.
Northeast.
I only saw, there might be other, but the one that I saw was Harlandale. They just approved this last month.
Okay. Because I did see Harlandale did approve that, but I also know that Juan Cruz is also Harlandale's legal counsel.
Correct.
So I'm kind of asking myself, what's the real, is the interest because it's with Juan Cruz, or is the interest really in our school district? Just because myself, like even in the community, even hearing from students, I haven't really been hearing these conversations that y'all brought up, behavioral, mental health, firewalls. Like, this is the first time even hearing that.
I'll share with the board, if you will recall, over the last few months, I shared, I think, rather extensively that I've spent the prior year having lunch with students during the student leadership networks, and that has been at the top of that conversation. Students' mental health needs, the students have actually voiced that. I think there's multiple parties in the room that have been there, to include board members. Some of you have been there, actually. So that's one bit of information. I think there's also information that has been collected through one of our groups that's presenting tonight is going to be sharing some qualitative data that has been collected through our EISD Legal platform in person, and just some of the topics that have been at the top of the list of parents and children as well. And so there's been multiple presentations that I've made, I wouldn't even say just this year, multiple years, in conversations with students, as well as just my runnings around with students. And as early as I would say 5th grade, I think, I can't remember which trustee was there. I think it's talked about WhatsApp, the green one. How they create these chat rooms, and then they go in there and they talk to kids about it. So I think the qualitative data would suggest that this is about student needs. This is not our attorney's role is to bring these types of things to us, and then our role as administration is to bring it to the board for consideration. So to be clear and transparent, I want to speak with facts on that. And so, did that answer your question?
A little bit, but like if we're talking about qualitative data and like data to back this up, why isn't the board brought this data with the lawsuit for the board? Because it's the board that's going to be voting on this, but why don't we have the data with what the want is?
So I would say that much like anything else, the board is constantly being presented information that is there for you to review. I don't anticipate that any one board member would not collect that information, learn that information, and use that as part of what they use to make decisions. Decisions are not made in a vacuum. And so a board member may get something in January. In fact, I mentioned how we've been working on the budget. Since January, we collect the information, we present it. So we take 6 months out to build your understanding. The same would apply here. Because that's not something that I think reasonably that we would do that in one night. And so I want to make sure that, again, my response on that would be that this is based on what afflicts our children, not because it's just Edgewood, it is across the state and across the nation. There are multiple reports that talk about mental health and the importance of shielding mental health. So that's part of what we bring to you. You guys will evaluate that, and then all 7 of you will individually make a decision and cast your vote in that manner.
And there's no guarantee like this lawsuit will pass, right? Like if there's no guarantee it will be granted, the funding,
That's
right?
absolutely correct.
But like from an ask, the lawyer's gonna ask the district to submit information of like students' behavior and other information as well.
Some PIMS data, yes.
Teams data.
And I say that because that's where it exists. It's very exploratory right now, and that's what this is. It's an exploration of whether this is even valid. Do we even have a case? That's part of that phase. So I don't know that there will be an award or that there won't. If we have the right data, like you said, what kind of issue do we have? We won't know that until other experts review the data. Because we might be kicked off then. We don't know where this is going.
Yes. And then I believe it also has to be approved by the Attorney General to even pass
That's correct.
after the school districts.
That's absolutely.
But I also saw in the legislative session, the social media policy in the Senate failed. So well, they weren't concerned about social media, student social media. That's just my thoughts.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam.
So our next presenter, yes, I'm sorry, that's what I've been doing this, guys. Our next presenter tonight is our Chief of Police, Chief Quiroga. He's going to update us on our intruder alert.
Board, Superintendent, and community, thank you guys for being here. This is more of a, I guess I would call it it's still a process with the state. The state has implemented safety checks of all districts due to what happened in Uvalde, right? But what the state is doing is that they're helping us. They're giving us a checklist. This is what a safety auditor from the state is going to come in and look for and do. And if there's anything that we find out of the ordinary, we're going to have to take a couple of steps so that you can improve so that it doesn't happen again. With us, we're going to do a summary presentation of these audits and what an auditor looks for. I'm not sure why I look for like this on there. Forgive me, but if I see it, I'm going to remember it like you guys like, right? Yeah. Currently here, we've had 10 from the onset of this presentation being made, we've had 10 audits to report so far, right? We've been successful at all of them. Brentwood, Gardendale, West Garcia, Henry B. Gonzalez, Memorial, Roosevelt, Cisneros, Stafford Elementary, Fine Arts, and DAEP. At Cisneros, I'm sorry, let me go back. What an intruder looks for. The intruder is coming in to see if he can gain access to our building. Luckily, no intruder has been able to gain access to our buildings at all, period. So we're good there. The auditor wants to know the total number of doors that were propped open, unlocked, or broken, or improperly secured. Were there any items observed near exterior doors that can be used to prop open doors, right? Number two, I'm really proud of that, because even I growing up, especially in elementary schools, I remember teachers would put a little rock on the door so we could come in and out, come in and out. We've had to do a total cultural change, and our teachers, for Cisneros Elementary, the weekly door lock sweeps. So the state wants us to prove that we're actually checking doors by doing a door lock sweep. Every campus has to do a door lock sweep. Door lock sweeps can be done by anybody in the campus. A custodian can do it, a teacher can do it, anybody can do it, right? So, these are what the door lock sweeps look like. Anytime an auditor comes in, he's gonna wanna see that, she's gonna wanna see this. During the walkthrough at Cisneros, weekly door lock was not presented for the week of April 14th to the 17th. However, the school does maintain a weekly door lock. What we did for Edgewood, we put our heads together and we thought, what's gonna happen, because life happens every day, right? You know, our educators get caught up in educating. This is an extra step that they might miss, which is obvious, and it happened April 14th to the 17th, it happens. What our police department does, to provide a safety net for them is our police officers, our public safety officers, when they're doing patrols of their campuses, they will also conduct a door lock sweep. But they will call out on the radio, and our police department will log it in. So when the state came in and said, Edgewood, you didn't do your door lock sweep, okay, the one at the campus wasn't accomplished, but we actually always accomplish our door lock sweeps, state of Texas, and we were able to show them the log, which they accepted. As part of the requirements for the state of Texas, if there is a discrepancy with any of our sweeps at all, we need to let our board know, we need to let our superintendent know, we need to let our public know, which I like. It's part of our transparency, it's part of what makes us better. I always want to have 100%, but if these are the kinds of areas that they're having a misstep with, I'll still take it as a win. No auditor was able to penetrate us. What happened is, at Cisneros for that week, they didn't write the name down, but our safety net came into effect and it did work. All right, any questions for me? Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Actually,
Any questions?
real quickly.
Sure.
I appreciate the work that y'all do, the officers do. They do fantastic work. I mean, I've been going to events and they're doing an excellent job with a smile on their face all the time. I think the question I'm going to ask is I'm going to point it towards Dr. Hernandez and Ms. Martinez. On this legislative session, we didn't see any increase for school safety funding, did we? We did?
A little bit, yes.
Okay.
About 317,000 or so.
Okay. So, do we know in what direction that would be going if we receive that money?
So I'll share with you,
that our budget for our particular police department, that encompasses personnel, vehicles, equipment, trainings also, because obviously, much like anybody else, officers have to do their yearly training, and then other things that we do to retain our officers as well. I want to say we're running a little under $2 million budget for the department. I know I've shown it in multiple years now, the amount of money that we've received from the state, which in the last legislative priority was $10 per student, $15,000 per campus. If you had a major event, the $10 went to $11. So that math is there. And so it roughly amounted to $450,000 at the last time. So if I just took that 317 and just added it, right, it's still nowhere near $1 million. Mr. Landez brought up a great point earlier about vestibules. We have one campus that still needs some enhancements on the vestibules. That is not, the state will tell you that money could be used towards that, but in the same breath, we also know that we also received the mandate board. I'll remind you, the 89th legislature, this is the 90th, right? The 89th legislature, we were also asked to provide a police officer in every building. Now, we've already had the discussion about the pipeline for officers. We've had to create our own, much like teachers. And so the board also, as part of most ISDs in the state, had to do a resolution saying we cannot meet this expectation because there's not enough officers coming out. And in fact, I'm going to call it the governing board, so the chief wants to help me out with this. TCO, who is the individual or the organization that puts out certifications, you can't get the officers into TCO to actually get them certified because they're just doing the upkeep of the current officers. There's a lot of challenges there, I do appreciate the fact that it was included in the conversation, but it is still not anywhere near. And mind you guys, we're not a big school district. We're considered a medium-sized school district in the state of Texas. And yet our needs are ever changing. I'll tell you, we have to shift. I think I just had this conversation with the chief yesterday. The summer is typically when crime rate goes up. And so our community has come to expect from our PD that we answer the calls. Sometimes they call us versus SAPD, because nothing against that agency. They're working alongside, we're all working alongside each other. But our community is expecting us to jump in when things happen. And again, the next presentation, you'll see that there's qualitative data where the community, that has become a conversation point amongst the community. So, filling more money.
All right, thank you, sir. Yeah, I would just say that for the next legislative session, maybe this is something we need to push for our elected officials, when they're giving us mandates and expecting this type of security from our school districts, that we need to be pushing our elected officials a little harder on, giving us what we need to give, to have safety in our schools.
And the delegation here in Bear County is very supportive. But yes, I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. For the walkthroughs and the door locks, are they digital door locks, or are they something that they submit digitally, or is it like a book that they have for both the campuses and the way the police department does it?
The door logs are manual door logs that are kept at the campus themselves. That's actually the rule from the state. They need to have the door log there. Well, what our officers do is anytime they're there, they call out over the radio, and then our dispatcher, like any other police department, will log in what the dispatcher is saying and create a log for that.
So physical on the campus and digital with the police department?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is a question that may or may not apply to this, but like, the door locks, it's the perimeter, correct? The perimeter doors?
Yes, sir.
For the classroom doors and the doors inside, do you know like if all the classrooms and schools have like, inside where you can lock the door? Cause some,
All our classes have to have, our doors have to lock. Yes, sir.
okay. And this, so just to clarify from the question Mr. Lopez asked, the increase will be $317,000 for the security?
It's about 377.
377.
377. I said 317, 377 approximately.
Okay. I want to ask, like first, a security festival, cause we did say we need improvement in one campus, but I know like many campuses that don't have the security festival at all, and that's like a perimeter where you go and you get access to the first floor, but you don't have access to the entire school, you just go directly to the front office. So do we know like how much it costs to like install security festivals?
No, the last pricing that I had was from 2 to 3 years ago. So we have to get new quotes.
I'll tell you what was shared with me by one of the other students at our regional meeting. The quote they got about a year and a half ago was about $275,000. That was prior to any tariffs that are going on now. So much like the items we brought to you guys last month with regards to the audio systems, it started one way and then of course just in a week or two went up about $20,000.
And so, those prices are 275,000 is what was shared with me by another superintendent. But again, now since tariffs, that's probably gone up. Yeah.
But for like safety and physical, like safety in our schools, like we don't always have to wait for like any increase from the legislator. Like some of this stuff or most of this stuff can be done like through bonds, right? Like through physical improvements of the buildings.
We could.
It is something that we can propose to propositions. Yes, that is an accurate statement. And that, again, I think that's part of the conversations that we would want to have with the board as a whole, to inform you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we are going to go ahead and bring up our guests. Thank you, sir. Our next group is going to be Mr. George Garnica, who is going to be leading our conversation. Our second conversation with regards to our family and parent engagement group. So, Mr. Garnica.
Good evening, Dr. Hernandez. Good evening, President Dr. James Hernandez, Board Trustees, Senior Leadership Team. Thank you for allowing me to be here again today. Last month, I was able to come and share with you that in Edgewood ISD, we believe our core values should align with everything we do in our department. That message continues to guide the work that we do with our families and our community. We also learned that at Edgewood, our leadership definition framework has provided a strong foundation to anchor our work. It centers around our three powerful categories, which are people matter, growth matters, and goals matter. And these categories shape how we serve and support our students and families. And our efforts are grounded in Goal 4, Priority 2 of our district plan to improve two-way communication and parent engagement. This just isn't a box that we check, it's part of our mission. We want to make sure that families are feeling like they're being heard, supported, and empowered. During tonight's presentation, I'll be sharing a reminder of our 5 core commitments, what we value in partners. We're also going to hear from some of our partners, our value partners, and what we look forward to for next year. As a reminder, our work in service of students, families, and the Edgewood community is grounded in our 5 core commitments. Respect and communication are at the heart of our commitments and serve as the driving force behind all that we do. These 2 commitments are not only essential to building strong relationships, but they also create the conditions necessary for meaningful collaboration, inclusive practices, and the empowerment of every voice within our community. When we lead with respect and prioritize open, honest communication, we foster a culture where equity and inclusion, collaboration, and empowerment are not just goals, but everyday realities. They are the entry point to trust, shared understanding, and the collective progress we strive to make as a district. At the heart of the work that we do is the belief that students thrive when families, educators, and the community work together. So when we decide we're going to partner with an organization, we look for the following. We want for them to be able to provide a proof of concept. So we look for partners who can demonstrate a successful track record. We also want positive proponents of the district. We value partners who actively support and advocate for Edgewood ISD. We also want a partner who has an internal capacity. So the ideal partners bring essential skills, systems, and operational strength needed to carry out programs successfully. We also want them to be solution-driven. We want community partners at EISD who are solution-driven because they help us move forward and identify problems to create real lasting impact for students, families, and schools. And then we also want for our partners to have extended resources. We're looking for collaborators to bring additional tools to the table, whether that's funding, staff, materials, or access to networks. So when we enter into partnerships, we value the commitment made to our district and our students. As we continue our conversation about the importance of collaboration and our partners, I do want to take a moment to highlight how vital community partnerships are in Edgewood, and not just in practice, but as a matter of equity and compliance. Title I encourages, and in some cases requires, schools and districts to collaborate with community-based organizations to improve outcomes for students who are historically underserved. These partnerships are essential to building strong school-family community connections that support student learning and success. We know that the work of supporting students doesn't happen in isolation. It takes all of us working together to create safe, thriving environments where our students can grow and succeed. So today I'm excited to highlight 2 of our key engagement partners who are contributing immensely to the success of our students, families, and the greater Edgewood community. Our first partner presentation comes from EISD Families for Community Safety. This group has been actively working to identify and addressing serious safety issues across our community. They're gathering data directly from families to ensure that student voices and parent concerns are heard and reflected in our district's efforts to create a safer neighborhood and safer schools. So at this time, I do want to introduce Ms. Stella Camacho and Ms. Marisa Benia, who are going to share.
Dr. James Hernandez, the school board members, Dr. Hernandez, superintendent, and the leadership team. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present. My name is Stella Camacho.
And my name is Marisa Villarreal.
We represent a group called EISD Families for Community Safety. This organization originated in March of 2024 through a group of families in the Loma Park area who were finding situations in their neighborhood a little strenuous, a lot of shootings and other elements happening in the neighborhood that didn't seem correct. So they teamed along with the Loma Park School, along with the principal and the EISD police department to bring about some information that was happening in the school district that they saw happening. As a result, we organized this group of community along with Ms. Martha Castilla, our own Martha Castilla, and Ms. Elizabeth Martinez de la Rosa of the UT Health Science Center. She has allowed us to put together, organize data that helps us gather information so that we can present this and bring it forward to families and to the Edgewood District, along with any other valuable information so that we can start grouping together as partners, as Mr. Garnica mentions, partner with EISD, partner with EISD Police, in partnership with outside police forces. Throughout this data information, we have been able to collect through some of the events that Edgewood has held, and this has been a great opportunity because we knew that Loma Park was not the only area affected. It may have also have effects in all areas of the Edgewood District. So through these organizations that the district held, we were able to gather more data information. And Ms. Marisa is going to tell us a little bit more about that.
Nosotros, para poder tener esta, hicimos algunos grupos en algunas direcciones de algunas escuelas que estuvimos, y lo que hicimos fueron unos carteles de un póster de 4x6, y en el cual había adultos y había jóvenes. Estuvimos viendo cuál era lo más importante para las personas adultas en cuanto a la seguridad, y los jóvenes también, y tuvimos algunas respuestas basados en los adultos, en 279 adultos del distrito de Edgewood que viven ahí en el distrito y que trabajan. Estuvimos viendo lo que son los tiroteos, que es lo más importante para los adultos, y tuvimos un 21%. Las personas que no tienen vivienda, era la preocupación de ellos, un 16%, y también el uso de alcohol y sustancias, que tuvimos un porcentaje del 13%. Para los adolescentes fue diferente su prioridad, y bueno, lo que ellos vieron más importante en una encuesta que hicimos de 116 estudiantes, que fueron los que participaron, pues fue el suicidio, que fue el 26%, el bullying, que fue el 22%, y también, igual que los adultos, bueno, su preocupación es el uso de alcohol y algunas sustancias, de un 19%.
So most of that data collected was upfront with the actual individual. They very eagerly participated in the event. They gave us the information and added more through verbal contact. Our next steps would be to get a focus group together to analyze the data with more accurate results, be able to present it again to the board with more consistency, and also reach out to families, maybe through the Platicas, through other EISD events, so that we can involve more groups and families. This project has taken hold. Community and parents, students are very eager to be a part of this, to help us find a solution. As mentioned earlier in the discussions, a lot of the mental problems that maybe are not problems, but situations that our students have to go through may entail some of the activities that are happening in their neighborhoods. So the sooner we can get resolutions to this, the sooner our students can do a lot better. Yeah, and that's it. Not sure if you all have any questions, but that was it.
Thank you for doing this work, because I'm glad I'm seeing data coming from the community, by community members. That's what I personally enjoyed seeing, because you're identifying a problem, you're collecting data. My next question would be, and this is just kind of, me being curious, what let's say you look through the data, you do your focus groups, what what are you expecting to do after that with that information? Or what do you think?
So primarily, once we gather the information and once we have it analyzed, we do want to approach EISD. We do want to work in collaboration with the EISD Police Department. Get some insight through the team leaders also, maybe some advice on where this is taking our students, what they're hearing from our students, and then at that point reach to outside sources in the city. Because it's not just an Edgewood problem, obviously, it's a city situation, and if we can maybe tackle it in our Edgewood district, we can get more insight from city council, from mayor, anyone, to bring attention to situations happening.
Yeah, and this really aligns with what, I don't share it often, I share it with my board all the time as superintendent, but I really want Edgewood to be a model for other districts. Board, superintendent, community, because this is community work, and I love research, that's what, I went to school for, and this is the kind of, I think this is the kind of work that will eventually lead to big changes, right? Not just, because we see it, right, and the great thing about this data is that it aligns with a lot of what I see as a teacher in schools, a lot of what the students are talking about, even with the social media aspect that we heard about earlier. So thank you for this work. I know it takes a lot of work and dedication, so I really want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Next, we'll hear from Texas A&M San Antonio, who has partnered with us this year to launch La Familia Parenting Workshops. These workshops are designed to empower families with tools and also to support student learning, strengthening parent-child relationships, and fostering ongoing family engagement in our schools, which also providing the knowledge and resources for families to pursue higher education. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Catherine Fragoso and Elizabeth Alanis.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time today. My name is Catherine Carlos. I'm the Director of Outreach at A&M University San Antonio.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Alanis. I'm the Program Manager for the Parent Outreach and Engagement Department.
So our Parent Outreach and Engagement Department within our Community Partnerships and Campus Visit Experience Department has an overall goal to advocate for higher education and support our Aspire network. The Aspire network of independent school districts is 7 different independent school districts throughout the South Bexar County region. And we are working to help set the college-going culture, plant that seed about higher education early, and most importantly, work with parents to know that they have the resources within our program to help their sons or daughters achieve those higher education dreams.
This is our timeline of services. So our department did start out back in 2022, starting with a pilot program that was actually hosted here at Edgewood ISD. I've had the privilege to work these past 3 years and just seeing how the program has shaped and molded, specifically for the La Familia program. The La Familia program itself is a 6-week program for parents in the high school level to really tackle college readiness and help them understand what that's like for their student, help empower them, educate them on what the college process looks like. Because studies do show that the more the parent is involved in their student's educational journey, the better chance that their student has to matriculate into college, but also graduate, persist through college. So we started this program back in 2022. You can see the timeline of the parents that we've served throughout these past 3 years in terms of the La Familia program. We do kind of shift to different districts. Typically, we serve between 4 to 5 districts per school year, depending on our capacity for the year. And then this spring, we did get a chance to collaborate again with Edgewood ISD to host our first in-house pilot program. So prior to this, we would host the program through third-party curriculum. So this is the first time that we've been able to host this completely internally and really cater it to the needs of the district and the needs of your parents.
So by creating a pilot program and having Edgewood ISD as a partner, it allowed for us to really tailor the program to the needs of the school district. We were able to focus on the Dream Center and introduce staff to those parents that might not otherwise have that one-to-one interaction. we were able to customize our workshops so that the program was intentional to parents and really make sure that the parents understood the different topics that were covered, such as setting the expectations at home, applying for college admissions, what were all of those services and resources provided both at the high school level and at the college level, and then the next steps, including the financial process. A lot of parents want to make sure that they cover their basis on, is it worth it? How do I afford it? Will they truly get a job? And that is what our La Familia program helps them to understand. So our goal with the La Familia workshops moving forward is to continue that, providing the college access, but also expanding and growing. We want to increase the number of districts that we serve. Having our pilot program internally allows us to have cost savings, and we're extremely grateful for Edgewood ISD to allow us to do that pilot program with this parent cohort. We're looking forward to continuing this partnership and really stretching out within our South Bexar County and beyond to really help parents within the city of San Antonio understand that they have the resources and the services to support their children in their higher education dreams. These are a few parent testimonials, and if you did not notice the first photo that Mr. George Ganica had, we had a wonderful cohort of parents that graduated from the La Familia program.
Okay, so we had about 70 parents graduate from this past Familia cohort. Out of those, we did have 2 middle school parents that did decide to do the program. It was still very beneficial for them as they got to see an early glimpse of what that looks like in terms of starting to build that college-going culture at home, starting to think about financing scholarships. So it was very beneficial for them. We had a lot of great conversations, I think, during the sessions. Parents were very engaged, asking questions. So I think we had a lovely group this past one. Any questions?
Well, I will say this, I do appreciate the work that you guys have been doing with our schools. I know you started at Memorial and Gus, I think, a couple of years ago. And so I do appreciate the parents that just on their own wanted to participate. And then the extra step you guys have gone to actually put together a graduation, I think that goes a long way for our parents. So I do want to say thank you. In terms of moving forward, again, I know Mr. Ganica did a great job of actually detailing out what makes a quality partner. I want to make sure that our board members hear that, because that is part of the goal. We understand that we have challenges, and of course, the first and foremost first and foremost teacher is our parent. That is always the first and foremost teacher. And so I do want to make sure that we are elevating that, and then also for our parents that are experiencing challenges in our school, that we equip them in as many ways as possible to actually have a better trajectory through our schools. And so again, thank you for partnering. I hope you continue to partner with us, and also Mr. Ganica for bringing them up. So any questions from anybody before we give them a round of applause?
I have a question. Well, first I would like to thank you because Tamusa is a wonderful institution in South Bexar County, and it's an affordable institution. And we do have partnerships with Texas A&M San Antonio, even operating 2 of our schools. So I would like to thank you for that. But my first question is, like, for these workshops, like, what time are they? Like, are they in the evening or in person? How does it work?
Yeah, so we've tried different setups for our workshops, and what we found works best is an evening session. So we have like a 6 to 7. Previous to this cohort, we've done hybrid sessions, we've done online sessions, we've done sessions at noon, at 9, but really what works best is that evening time in person. And so we were able to do a 6 to 7. Usually parents are arriving around 5:30. We do serve some sort of dinner during the session, so they don't have to worry about having to provide dinner for themselves. And then of course, we allow for the student to also be a part of it, so a lot of them do bring their family. And it's a kind of holistic approach. They're hearing the information, the student is hearing the information, and they can go home and have a conversation hopefully after the session.
And is this really for like high school parents, or is it high school and middle school?
Yes, and so we understand there's a high need in terms of promoting college-going culture at an earlier age. but at this time, our capacity allows for high school parents, and there is a hope for the future to be able to cater the curriculum for middle school and high school grade levels.
So typically you'll get them, because a lot of our parents in the neighborhoods, we are feeder parent schools. So if I have a student at Memorial, chances are I have a student at Gus, I have a student at Roosevelt or one of the elementary schools. So it is about the family.
And I also want to ask, like, for those, like, the students that are, like, seniors, like, is there also data, like, college access, like, college enrollment as well, like, for the parents and students that are part of this, that, like, actually went to college or anything like that? Or?
Yes, so you're talking about from the parents who participated, what students actually went, that matriculated into college?
Yes.
We do have previous data that we could share. Right now, we're still working on our current data for this year. We had our graduation with actually last week, so we're still working through just kind of collecting and analyzing our data for surveys and for enrollment numbers.
Thank you.
Hi. Thank you all for doing this work. I do have one question. I'm just curious, what kind of data are you collecting from parents, if you're collecting any? Because, I mean, the way I see it, like the partnerships, y'all are a university, and universities always need data, they always need information. What kind of things you think you would be doing either now, currently, or maybe in the future to start finding some of those data points that are actually going to maybe identify issues or maybe strengths, things like that?
Sure. So a lot of the data that we are currently collecting, because this was the first pilot program, was to ensure, are we getting the correct message across and what is the information that your family truly needs? Because if we're going to do our own in-house program, we want to make sure we tailor it to the school district. So that's the first set of survey data. Our second one is to actually go back and double check our students that have actually matriculated into the A&M University San Antonio system. That's easy for us to do because that's our system institution. The data that's harder to find out is if those students went to another institution, because our program does not force students to only select our institution. We're helping them to understand higher education at a broad level. So if a student is interested in Baylor University, at UT, Austin, right, or another institution, we're helping them to understand what does it cost, what does it take in those next steps just to obtain higher education. And that's the data that we are trying to then collect. So what we're doing this summer is we're going to do a tour of colleges and universities to start making connections with the other institutions and really find out new partnerships. So we can find out, is this student in your roster, right? Is this student actually attended your, and then follow up with the parents. So our hope is to bring back any graduating parents from our previous cohorts, have a lunch and learn, and find out directly from those parents, where did your student go? Did they go into the career workforce? Did they go into the military force? Or did they go into an institution of higher education? So those would be the three components we're looking at.
Thank you, love it.
Thank you very much.
I know we're on a time crunch here, so thank you to our partners for trusting to work with us, and I look forward to building on the momentum that we have. Good, okay. Because we listen to families, we know how important it is to provide meaningful support, timely information, and genuine opportunities to partner together. That's why next school year, our efforts will be shaped directly by the needs, questions, and hopes our families have shared with us. We will offer a series of sessions covering key topics such as bullying prevention, parent advocacy, volunteering, and navigating parent-teacher relationships. Each of these sessions is designed to equip families with tools, information, and confidence to support their children's success and strengthen the partnership between home and school. Our EISD Unidos Stronger Together events will continue. These events will continue with an increased focus on community safety. These gatherings will integrate insights shared through our EISD Families for Community Safety outreach and include targeted sessions for parents to help foster safer and stronger communities. In addition, the Superintendent's Community Council will remain a vital platform for sharing updates and collecting valuable parent and community feedback. We're excited to also introduce several new initiatives, including hosting Pláticas in Parents' Homes. These exclusive gatherings for EISD parents will encourage open, meaningful dialogue. We will also reintroduce a parent advisory council and launch a parent roundtable discussion series to provide parents a space to voice concerns, celebrate successes, and collaborate on solutions related to their child's campus. While we proudly celebrate the many successes within our district, we also recognize that some families feel disconnected or unsure how to get involved. Their feedback has been valuable in helping us better understand the barriers that may exist. In response, we're committed to re-engaging these families by strengthening communication, rebuilding trust, and ensuring every parent feels welcome, valued, and informed. Family engagement departments were created to foster meaningful connection between schools and families, supporting strong school-home relationships and encouraging families to become active participants in their schools or their child's education. But it's important to remember that family engagement is a shared responsibility. While schools provide support and guidance, parents are and will always be their children's first and most influential teacher. When we recognize and honor this truth, we create a stronger foundation for student success through genuine partnerships. So we will continue to serve as a trusted resource for families as well, whether it's guiding them through volunteering opportunities, offering food assistance, or connecting them with vital social resources. By creating safe, supportive environments tailored to the needs of our EISD families, we aim to build authentic relationships rooted in respect, transparency, and shared purpose. So as I wrap up, I'd like to revisit our intended outcomes. Today we heard again about our 5 core commitments, also what we value in our partners. We also heard from our valued partners and how we engage with them and what to look forward to in the future. So again, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity to share an overview of our family engagement program, which I'm very proud of. I look forward to returning in August to provide more details about our upcoming initiative, parent sessions, and community events. So you will see me again. At this time, I'm happy to take any questions from our board trustees or our leadership team.
Mr. Garriga, first and foremost, I want to say thank you. It's a really good report for the community, so thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. Any questions, guys?
I have a question. Well, first I would also like to thank you, your department, your parent liaisons, for really being there with our families, with partners, and with our community. But this is kind of like a district question as well as a question to you. Because even me, I was trying to access like the family engagement department from the website, and I had to click 4 times. But other school districts, I searched SAISD Northside, you only click once or twice. So is there a way like we as a district can make it more accessible, maybe on our front homepage? Because I understand we have parent portal right there, but what about a tab just for parents that they can click on, take them directly to our family engagement and community?
Thank you, Mr. Valdez. That's a good question, and I agree with you. Sometimes it's difficult or too many clicks to get to our page, so I think just working with our communications team and Ms. Blevins to see perhaps on the front page of the website some type of tab for family engagement, but I can make sure that we discuss that with communications.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, board. Dr. Hernandez, this is going to conclude our report for tonight. We do have one item I do want to say for the record. And for, there was a presentation that Mr. Chavez was going to bring this evening. It is item A, the June 25th Leadership Board presentation. This is typically where Mr. Chavez and his team bring up any items that are going to the board for consideration for a vote at the regular board meeting. There are no items this month coming out of Mr. Chavez's shop, so I do want to say that for the record, nothing's going on for a vote. And then on the second item, item B, is the presentation on Lone Star Governance Monthly Monitoring Report for May and June. We will roll those into, one of our future reports, here in the next month or two. And so we'll bring those back. Those are simply informational items. They do not require board action on them. They're just simply information for the board and for the community. And so all other items that required, board action were presented by Ms. Martinez. All of these will still go in your board update, including Mr. Chavez. That is part of why I present the, slide every month. Your board update is also part of the board's participation in terms of, getting better acquainted with the items that are put before you. That is part of the trustee and superintendent district relationship. And so we'll add those this week. I'm sure Mr. Chavez will add that. And then follow up on any questions that we received, that we can clarify, as well as just notes we took. And so to everybody that presented tonight, thank you, including our special guests. And I will turn it over to Dr. Hernandez at this time, Dr. James Hernandez at this time.
Thank you, sir. All right, the time is now 6:31 p.m. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I move to adjourn today's board workshop.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Valdez, motions, is there a second?
I second that.
Mr. Lopez, seconds. Is there any discussion? Okay, if we have no discussion, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay, raise your hand. Okay, motion passes, this meeting is adjourned.
Everybody, we'll see you tomorrow night at JFK's graduation.